Okay, so I'm going to repeat something that I said in the video for day 2, which is that if you on day 2 decided that you liked either guess and check or split the middle term or some combination of both, and you're not interested in seeing other ways of doing it because that might distract you, then either skip the examples here and just do the practice and make sure you're getting the right answers, or you could do these examples using your preferred method and check to see that you got them right. And if you're, for whatever reason, you didn't like what we did on day 2, or you just like, I would like to see the other options, then let's see what the other options are, and see if they appeal to you. I feel like I actually should have given myself some more room here. So the first method, I'm going to talk about is called the box method. And it's called the box method because we're going to make a box. It's going to be kind of a big box because you're going to fit 4 things into this box. It's also going to it's going to look kind of like a 4-square situation, right? Or a window or whatever, right? One of the things, if you have taken biology, is that it might at some point during this process remind you of a Punnett square, which has to do with genetics and things like that. So here's what we do is we take the first term. This is just a way of like organizing what we did with split the middle term, just by the way. Put the first term in the top left, and we put the last term in the bottom right. And then we are going to split the middle term up to put it in the other 2 boxes. And to do that, same thing as before, we have to do 12 times 4, which is 48, and we have to figure out what multiplies to get 48 that adds to get 19. So 148, 2, 24, 3 times 16. Oh, that's it. 3 plus 16 is 19. So 3 in and 16 in. It does not matter which of those you put in which place. It just, our work will look slightly different, but we should still end up with the same answer. And now what we're going to do is essentially the factoring by grouping from split the middle term, but we're going to do it Punnett square style. So we're going to look at the top here, and we're going to say, what do these have in common? We're going to write it right here out to the side. It's like a backwards Punnett square. So 12 and 3 both divide by 3. They both have an n, so these have a 3n in common. And then we're going to do the bottom 2 and put it right here. So that's going to be a 4 that they have in common. And for what it's worth, it's a positive 4, right? Then we're going to do the same thing, but with our columns. So for my first column here, what do they have in common? They both have 4 and n. And one of the things that I like about this is that you can very easily see if you're on the right track, or relatively easy, by saying, okay, and this has to do with like the Punnett square kind of technique. 4n times 3n is supposed to be 12n squared. So if that doesn't match up, then you didn't take out probably the biggest thing that you could. 3n and 4 don't have anything in common, so they're going to just have a 1 on top, also known as a plus 1. So the parentheses, the 2 parentheses for this should be 3n plus 4 and 4n plus 1. So 3n plus 4, sorry I didn't make this clear, is these 2 terms put together in 1 parentheses. 4n plus 1 is these 2 terms put together in our parentheses. If I FOIL this out, I should get what I started with. And this is just a different way of a different way of writing our work, essentially. Otherwise, it's the exact same thing as what you do with split the middle term. It's just a different way of writing it that you may or may not enjoy. I don't know. Let's look at another one and use the box method again. And, your goal here, hopefully, is to figure out whether or not you like this method or want to do it a different way. Key thing is making sure that what you're doing is correct. So we make a box, and inside that box we're going to put another box and another box and another box. This is 10x squared. This is negative 5. And then I'm going to split this 23x up by saying 10 times negative 5, which is negative 50. What multiplies to get negative 50? That adds to get 23. So that's a 2 and a 25 sort of situation. And 25 would be positive since this is a positive 23. So 25x and negative 2x. So let's do our rows here. 10x squared and 25x have a 5x in common. Negative 2x and negative 5 don't have anything in common, but they're both negative, so I'm going to put negative 1. And then looking at my first column, 10x squared and negative 2x have a 2x in common. Notice that like 2x and 5x make 10x squared, 2x and negative 1 make negative 2x, right? So we can Punnett square this and figure it out, and yeah. This last column, 25x and negative 5 have a 5 in common. And so our parentheses are 2x plus 5 and 5x minus 1, or you can write it in the other order. But this right here is the answer. There is a trickiness that I wish that I had actually put on here in some way about the box method, and that's that whenever you're doing the box method, if this number and this number are negative, but this one is positive, which is what's going to happen. If these two that we split, if those are both negative, the bottom right would be positive, the top left would be positive. It means that we need to actually make both of these negative. And so that's just kind of the weird thing of like, that's something you have to remember or notice as you're going through, that you need negatives to make it actually multiply out correctly. Because this looks like multiplication table, right? That 5x times 2x is 10x squared. 5x times 5 is 25x. So if you're double checking in that way, then hopefully you'll realize where the negatives are supposed to go. But, you know, just throwing that out there as a little bit of trickiness. That's one of the reasons why I did split the middle term first, is because it does not, I believe, have that trickiness. I guess I need to double check. But the other method, and again, if you already like one of the other methods, you don't have to watch this. But this one is called slide and divide. And it has its problems in that it is a cheat in a way, like that some math teachers do not like seeing. And that's because typically as we write our different lines of work on a problem, typically we're implying or even saying these equal each other. That each line, I've just made some change, but they're still all equal. And we can't do that with slide and divide because we're actually doing something that's not allowed. So just keep that in mind. Slide and divide, we take the 2 and we're going to slide it over here to the 3. We're going to rewrite this x squared minus 7x, and then 2 times 3 is 6. We have slid the 2. That's the slide part of slide and divide. So since we did that, now we're going to factor this like normal, like we do whenever a is 1. So we're going to say what multiplies to get 6, that adds to get negative 7, which is negative 6 and negative 1. But we're not done. We did slide. Now we're going to divide, because if you look, x times x is x squared, but we're supposed to be getting 2x squared. So the way we fix that is we say that 2 I slid earlier, now I'm going to divide by it, like this. And if it divides evenly or if it reduces, I'm going to do that. So the fact that negative 6 over 2 is negative 3, I'm going to make that change. And if it doesn't, if it ends up still being a fraction after we've reduced or done stuff like on here, we actually take the bottom number and we move it in front of x. So this x minus 1/2 is not what we need. We need it to instead say 2x minus 1. And if you take a quick sec to look at this, right? X times 2x gives us 2x squared. Negative 3 times negative 1 gives us this positive 3. Then our outer and inner terms would give us negative 7x. So this is, again, just like a different way of of working through the same kind of step, that we have to multiply the first and last thing. We have to figure out what two numbers work to get the middle. This is just a different way of doing it. One of my problems with it, other than what I already mentioned, is that lots of people will remember to slide and not remember to divide, and then you just have an incorrect answer, and nobody wants that, right? Right. So we'll do another one, and again, if you want to just, stop the video and do it a different way, that's fine, or to try doing this a different way while I do slide and divide, whatever. Why did I pick such big numbers for this? So we're going to slide 20 over. This is the part that we're not actually allowed to do this in math. Like this does not equal this, and that's why some math teachers or mathematicians have a problem with it. Negative 15 times 20 is negative 300. So what multiplies to get negative 300 that adds to get negative 13? I think I need a calculator. No, I wasn't. That's not actually what I was going to say. I was like, I feel like I can guess this, but I don't know. Like 3 and 100 do not subtract to get negative 13. 4 and 75, 5 and 60. We're getting numbers that are closer together here. 6 and 50. 8 go? No. 9 go? No. 10 go? Yes. This is what I was thinking it was, but that's not going to work. 10 doesn't go. 10 goes. 11 doesn't go. 12 can go. And I'm looking up here and saying, because I can break 100 up into 4 times 25, then the 3 and the 4 together make 12, and then leave 25. And those are 13 apart. So since I want it to be negative 13, I need the 25 to be negative and the 12 to be positive. Do not circle our answer here. And if you realize your teacher doesn't like this method, then you should do the next step and then erase your work so that it just looks like you guessed and checked. That's my advice, at least. So now we're ready to divide by what we slid earlier. So slid and divide. So divide by 20. We are going to, in both of these, we're going to simplify our fractions. This simplifies by 5. This simplifies by 4. And then we're going to take the denominators and move them in front of x. So this is 4x minus 5, and this is 5x plus 3. And that's the answer. At one point, I really liked slide and divide because it just seemed fun. But as far as teaching you what to do, I think that it may be the one that's actually the hardest to consistently get right. So I do think split the middle term or the box method would probably be easier for you, but you can figure out hopefully what works best for you and choose a method, and it's all really great. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.